Hi everyone, welcome to episode 23 of Woolen Spinning. My name is Rachel and I can be found pretty much everywhere as Well for Pearls. It is Friday, June 10th here, 2016, and I hope that you are really well. If this is the first time that you are checking out the blog and the show, this is a sort of reincarnation of the Woolen Spinning podcast. So it is no longer available on iTunes. It is only available on the blog wellforpearls.com or YouTube under my channel. And there's again links on the blog from wellforpearls.com. And this is a process-driven weekly spinning, basically recap of what I'm working on and what I have been working on throughout the week. And it goes hand in hand with hashtag Fiber Friday, which can be found at fiberfriday.blogspot.ca. So I hope you will check that out. And if you are a blogger, you can link up and share what you're working on as well. So I have only 2 projects that I can share today. I hate when I have to do that and keep things secret, but unfortunately that's kind of the way that it goes sometimes. So one of the projects that I was working on, I actually shared about back on Monday, June 6th, and I had stumbled on a video by Grace Shalom Hopkins, who I'm a huge fan of, and I follow pretty much everything that she does, and I just really enjoy her spunk and her enthusiasm and her passion about spinning. I suspect her and I could probably sit and chat for eons about all of the things that we're working on, because she's a real process person as well, and she's always working on new things. And if you aren't familiar with her, Google Spin Weekly, and weekly is in capital letters, and she will come up. Anyways, so she had been working and had done this video post about this combination spin that she was doing that was just kind of the first time I had thought about combining comb top and roving. And I thought, I'm going to try that and see how it goes. So I took some comb top from Hello Yarn that I had in my stash, and this was deep stash from... See, I consider deep stash to be more than a year old. I know that's not the case for some people. They're more like 5 to 10 years old or even longer. But for me, my stash is so small and it's constantly churning over that a year is actually getting to be quite long for me. So this was a completely twisted and arbitrary spin along, and it was Hello Yarn was the featured dyer. If you're not familiar with the CTA spin alongs, I would highly recommend you go over to Completely Twisted and Arbitrary and check it out. It's a very active group. They're also the ones, if you've heard of Spin the Bin, they're the ones that are responsible for that. Anyways, this was a colorway that was part of that feature, that spin along. They do quarterly spin alongs, and I just didn't get the fiber spun, and I'm a redhead, and so, as you can tell, so for basically my entire growing up, I've always been told to wear green. And this color of Christmas green, it just... I've ended up as an adult really not liking it. And so when I received the fiber, this is 100% Falkland, I loved all of the blues and the yellows and the rusts and whatnot. And I just couldn't see past this green. So I sort of left it. I didn't spin it. I put it in my stash. And then when I saw what Grace was doing, I thought, what an awesome way to work that green in and turn it into more of like a tealy bluey green. So that's what I did. I found a semi-solid in my stash that I had completely forgotten about that really is deep stash. It was from 2009. And I blended it up on my drum carder with Sari Silk, Silk Noil, Firestar, Merino. The original braid of the semi-solid was Merino. And I added in yellow and some sage green, and it all kind of blended together to create this color. And when you put the two together, you can see that there are some matching tones and some matching colors and whatnot, but it's not overly matchy. But I matched the yellow. As you can see, there's the yellow there. And it's the same color as the Sari Silk and the Silk Noil that I used. And I if you want to see more about how I made all of this and how I matched it all up, I will put a link in the Ravelry thread for episode 23, and I'll also put a link with the blog post for episode 23 so that you can go back to the YouTube video that I recorded, because it walks through how I made these, how I divided this up, and how I matched them together. So I have 8 of these little combinations of fiber and roving and comb top nests. And then to actually spin them, what I've been doing is taking some of the fiber off of here. So this has been, I've taken some already, but I've been stripping it vertically like this and taking off this little bit all the way down. And I've been very, very careful about how I pull it off, because otherwise you end up with like really thin bits. So I've been really having to be quite intentional about how I strip it down. And then I pre-draft this out quite significantly. I love what pre-drafting does, because it really like blends the colors and blends the fiber. And if you've got a lot of texture, because I want this yarn to be a bit textured, it really kind of spreads some of that out, because this is all silk and oil in here and sari silk and whatnot, but it's all spread out. And then what I've been doing is taking from here, I've been pre-drafting it as well. And when I think that I'm kind of close to, this is getting twisted from being wrapped around to keep the fiber together. When I think that I'm getting kind of close to the length that I need to match the roving, I stop pre-drafting. Need a little bit more. So that I end up with an equal length. And then I just wrap it up. And I've been doing about 3 or 4 of these at a time, so that I have these little pre-drafted nests of fiber that are the comb top and the roving mixed together. And then, you know, I've got them ready to go, and I can just spin. This one's actually being spun from this end. I normally don't do this, and anybody who's been with me for a while and watched me for a while, I generally don't take stuff off of my wheel when it's in progress. But the whole focus of these weekly posts is to talk about my process and talk about how do you go from fiber to yarn, because often we see the fiber in a photo and then we see the finished yarn, and there isn't a lot of discussion about what happens in between. So I'm going to start taking my bobbins and my flyers off my wheel. So this is actually what it's looking like so far. So this is the what it looks like, and it's very heathered. There's some solid spots where the comb top comes forward and sort of takes over. And there's some spots at the top where when I was just starting out, I was sort of getting the hang of the whole drafting the comb top and the roving together. And so it kind of got a little bit, one inevitably kept taking over. And so I had to really work hard to keep them drafting together. And so it's creating this really heathered effect in when it works perfectly and when the two are drafting at the same time. And what I've been doing now that I'm kind of starting to get the hang of it, when one takes over, I just break it and start again. So it's going to take a while. I'm really torn between spinning this all to one bobbin and doing a center pull ball, or spinning to 2 bobbins and doing a 2-ply. So I'm not totally sure what I'm going to do yet, but that is sort of where I'm at this time with it. So that is going really, really well. And it's something I'm really excited about it. And I have these other projects that I'm supposed to be working on, and I really need to be working on because I've got deadlines. And all I want to do is work on this. So what I've been doing is when I get my work done on my other stuff, then I reward myself with working on one of these bumps, so I can finish one whole one, and then that's kind of like my reward. So it's actually been going really well. The other thing I've been working on is a spindling project. I showed this to you last week. This is the finished yarn that I had done from prior. And this is a hand-pulled roving off of my drum carder. This is Superwash Merino, and it's old Sweet Georgia Yarns Club from, I think it was 2014. Yeah, September 2014. It was called Bluebird Cafe. So I took the colorway and I made all of these nests of hand-pulled roving. And at the time when I made these, which was in October of 2014, I hadn't done hand-pulled roving before, and some of it was done on a drum carder that was a 72 TPI, tines per inch. So that's where the tines on the drum carder are quite a bit further apart compared to my drum carder now, which is 120 TPI. So the interesting thing is, because this was all done on a, it was actually done on the Wild Carder, which is by Ashford. I had rented it. It's because of the rougher tines, and rougher only because they're spread further apart. So it's meant for slightly coarser fiber or fleece. And the Wild Carder from Ashford has quite a narrow drum, and it's meant to be able to, and the tines are quite long, so it's meant to be able to take a lot of fiber. And people use it to make art bats and to make really super textured bats. So what has happened, and of course, you know, hindsight's 2020. I didn't know this at the time. The fiber got quite nappy, so that means that the merino caught on some of the tines between the Liquor-In brush and the drum, and it caught, and then when it pulled away, the fiber ricocheted back to the drum, and so it's made these naps. That's what creates and causes naps. So it's not the most even spin. It's very thick and thin. And looking back at this yarn that I spun immediately after I had made the hand-pulled roving, and I'd kind of abandoned this project because of other stuff. It's very thick and thin. But it's also really interesting. There's a lot of interest in this yarn, and I really like the effect. So as thick and thin as it is, I put a lot of ply twist in it to really kind of tighten up the twist, and it really is quite lovely. Like, it really has a nice look to it. So because I'm spinning this on my spindles, and I have one cop finished already. Sorry for the crinkling. So this is my one cop that's finished, and now I just have to do the next one, and I think I'll probably end up with a third one, actually. I think I'm going to ply this on my wheel when they're done. I'm going to make some plying balls, and I will apply this on my wheel so that I can get that same really tight twist. And I don't know what I'm going to do with the yarn yet. I think it would actually make a really lovely toque, but we'll see. So that is sort of ongoing, and I'm actually making quite fast progress on it. This I just started yesterday, and I got quite a bit done, and I was spinning while the kids were in the bath. I think I posted it on Instagram, and that was actually quite fun because the kids really like watching me spin, and they always say, "Mommy pinning, Mommy pinning." And actually it's kind of neat that they sort of expect it from me now, because they don't seem to care. They want my attention and get really, I don't want to say needy, because that sort of has a negative connotation, and I don't mean it to sound negative, but they get really kind of, "Mommy, what are you doing?" when I'm on my cell phone. So if I'm checking Instagram, or there's an email, or I need to respond to something, they get really like, or if I'm on the actual physical telephone, they're really in my face and wanting my attention. But when I'm spindle spinning, they could care less. It's almost like it's because it's not a screen. And I'm dynamic when I'm moving and spinning. Like I move around and I feel the yarn, and then I'm winding on, and I'm looking around. They don't seem to care that I'm spinning. And so, short of like stopping and reading books or building trains on the floor or playing dollies with Nora, I can really spin a lot because they don't really seem to think that I'm doing anything that's truly taking my attention away from them, like with a screen which is sort of interesting. So that was sort of a big revelation for us last week was, hang on a sec. They seem to get upset on us when I'm on a screen, but when I'm spinning, they don't care. So it's perfect. All right, let's move right along to the giveaway. So the giveaway will continue this week. So in episode 22 and the episode thread 23, I asked the question, and the question continues, what makes you proud to be a spinner or the pin says spinster. So what makes you proud to be a spinster? Why are you proud to be a spinner? And these are from Project Fleece. Thank you to Kathy for sending them along. I've got 3 to give away. There are 3 colorways. One is green. One is purple. The kids chose these colors, by the way. I don't think I actually said that. And the last one is orange. So James wanted orange, Nora wanted purple, and I had already made the green. And the funny thing is, I don't know if I said this last week, but I kind of ended up with all of the secondary colors in the color wheel, which is kind of fun. So the winner this week is actually from the blog. So I put everybody's name into a pot, and because I had comments on the blog, and then I also had comments in the Ravelry thread. So I put everybody's name in, and the person that I drew was actually Carolyn. And Carolyn said, so if you're Carolyn, can you please get in touch with me with your mailing address? These are not going to get mailed out until the end of the month. Anything that is a giveaway for this month of June will all be mailed out on the last day of the month this year. And the reason for that is because I have about 5 things by the end of the month that are going to get mailed out. So I'm going to do it all at once at the end of June. So Carolyn says, I'm proud to be a spinster because I'm 74 years old and still get excited about learning a new fiber skill. I have been spinning for 4 years, and it is very satisfying to spin the yarn for my knitting projects. Thank you, Carolyn, for participating. If you could get in touch with me, well, for Pearls on Ravelry, I'd really appreciate it. And I think that's it for this week. For episode 23, you can either say why you're proud to be a spinster. If you've already answered that question, though, and I will put your name in a second time if you put a comment in episode 23 thread. I also would love to know from you guys what helps you make decisions about how you spin your fiber. So if you have a braid of comb top, and the reason why I've been thinking about this is because of this combination spin. So if you have a braid of fiber and you're trying to figure out how you're going to spin it, what are some of the things that it influences and informs how you're going to spin it? So what is it that you sort of have in your spinning toolbox that helps make those decisions for you and informs how you're going to spin? So you can answer that in episode 23 if you've already answered the other question. And if you haven't answered what makes you proud to be a spinner, go ahead and answer that. So if you're totally confused, I'm really sorry. But you can answer either of those 2 questions in episode 23. Have a wonderful weekend, and I will chat with you next week. Bye, everyone.